Crow Point, a peninsula that juts out into Hingham Harbor, home to the Hingham Yacht Club and hundreds of Hingham residents. Not many know that the area was once also home to Melville Gardens, a huge resort that hosted 70,000 people a year in the late 1800s for boating, swimming, and clam bakes. We spoke with Hingham resident Irene Kane, who's put together a slideshow on Melville Gardens.
I'd heard about Melville Garden, but not too much, but I did know of a man that did a slideshow on the beach. And so he got me the slides. He said, Irene, you can keep them. And I made into a slideshow with the help of many friends. It brought me a love of a history, right. That I did. I've always liked history, but I never really studied it. But this history was so fascinating. And then once I really looked into it, I got the bug.
Right.
And it's been a gift.
It all started with Sam Downer.
Sam Downer, 1801 to 1881. He was born and died in the same house in Meeting House Hill in Dorchester. He made his fortune by manufacturing kerosene that changed how America lit the dark. He was one of the leading industrialists of the 19th century.
And of course, that's where we get Downer Avenue.
Downer Avenue, I know. I never knew that.
Downer came to Hingham in 1855 and bought 40 acres of land on Crow Point. Originally, he planned to build a kerosene refinery there, but after the Civil War, he decided to create a gathering place for recreation as a gift to the people of the area. He invested nearly $500,000 on the resort and made it a place for fresh air, swimming, and dining. He named it after his in-laws. Mr. and Mrs. Thomas Melville, who are they?
They are the grandparents of Sam Downer's wife, Nancy DeWolf Downer. And Herman Melville is her cousin.
Herman Melville was from Moby Dick?
Moby Dick was her cousin,
wow.
Yeah. Now, Melville Garden was at Downer Landing, which is now the Hingham Yacht Club. That's where the boats would come in.
Melville Gardens itself was just up the way at Walton's Cove. Tell me about this. Is this a book cover or something?
Wonderful advertisement for Melville Garden. Dancing on the pavilion, dining at the hotel. Hey, that is another advertisement. That's a Downer Landing poster of the hotel and docks at the Yacht Club today. 37,000 square foot pier was built in 14 days at a cost of $4,000.
How many rooms in that hotel?
80 rooms. Wow. Yeah. That's the pier at the dock, and that's where the dance hall would have been. And that's the rock retreat, the gazebo, and the bathhouse to change into your bathing suit. And that's an advertisement for group pictures on the rocks. Camera. Not everybody had a camera.
Those ladies are wearing corsets, I'll bet, huh?
Imagine, to changing into a bathing suit.
Oh my God. A hot summer day?
A hot summer day, not yet. And that is renting boats right down in the little beach. Wow. Renting boats, and that would take you out to Ragged Island or wherever you wanted to go.
That's a little catboat there.
This island, called Ragged Island, it was voted the most beautiful island in all of the Boston Harbor by the King's Handbook of 1889. Just was a wonderful place for people to go when they came here.
And now the seagulls use it as a nesting spot.
Right.
These buildings are so beautiful. It's a shame that they're gone. What happened to them?
It was torn down. Sam Downer, it was 25 years. 70,000 people would come here a summer in its heyday. So Sam Downer, when he died 10 years after it was made, he left it all in charge of his son-in-law, Mr. Scudder. Mr. Scudder died very suddenly. I think he was in his 50s, very suddenly one summer, and that was it. Nobody else in the family could take it over. Oh, wow. And so they tore it down the following summer.
Well, I love looking at these pictures and trying to pick out where the streets are now. And I live in this neighborhood too.
Yeah, I'd love to take you for a walk and show you where the area is now. We're at the end of Jarvis and Downer, going into Melville Walk. This is Sam Downer's original house. He built that for himself, but his son-in-law, Mr. Scudder, lived in it with one of his daughters, and he was the manager of the gardens. This was a shore-to-shore route. This is North Beach to this beach. That was the outer harbor to the inner harbor, and that's what he made. He had this street made for that reason. This was his oldest daughter, Miriam Green and Malcolm Green, and they lived in this house. That was their summer home. And then when Sam Downer died in 1881, the mother moved up to this house. This is such a beautiful area, we would take it for granted. And I know I did for 30 years before I found out who Sam Downer was and what this place was about. Okay, Alice is another daughter that came. I believe she married someone from England. And they would come and visit, but I don't think they had a home here. But that's named after her. Her last name was Alice DiMartino. Alice Walk was the street going to the entrance to the Rose Standish Hotel. Where the white fence is was the shades, where you'd walk through a little covered bridge, and you'd walk and come right on to Alice Walk, where the horses would bring people down to the beach. And Alice Walk went right along here, and it would bring you to the entrance. And the entrance was probably about here.
Look at this, huh?
Right over here where the 3 bathhouses were, where they'd change their clothes. And then where you took the rock pictures, you know the picture we have of the rocks?
Right, right.
And all the gazebos, well, they would be on those rocks, and that's where they would take pictures.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's
Walden's Cove. To cross the cove, low tide, of course, you'll see all these rocks. And then the music, the cafe would have been right here. The cafe, which probably seated 600-800 people. The music hall would have been over here. Now the back of these houses is Otis Street. And you can't see it, but up here is Otis Hill, which Daniel Webster tried to buy many times. He loved Otis Hill. He loved the beauty of it. And then there was no houses up there. It was all land without even any trees. Yeah. Sometimes I come down here and I sit here and I wonder what it would have been like to live at that time. Love to be able to go back there and live for a day. How much fun. You can't imagine how they lived, but what joy. Think of them coming with their long Victorian costumes and changing into bathing suits, going out to the islands, going for a clam bake. For 60 cents you could get a ride, a steamboat ride here, and then be able to get a clam bake on top of it. For Sam Downer, it wasn't anything about money. It was all about people enjoying themselves. Yeah, we had this sign made for my slideshows, and I just love it. Someone made it for me. But I come down here with my grandkids, and we throw rocks in the water. We swim in the summer. Kayaking is my big thing, so we kayak out to the islands. And like always, for 100 years, we have public access to this beach. It's just such a special area. We're just very lucky to live so close.